Breaking news. Durbin did not yell at them. He didn't bend much forward. In a methodical, calm, and steady manner, he just spoke them and pushed something over the table between them. It was a locked chamber. She didn't blink. For a whole 3 seconds her grasp tightened. She gave him a harsh look and remained silent. It's the type of quiet that doesn't appear to be coincidental. Neither a denial nor a word of defense. The sort that conveys all that words cannot. Everyone in the room, including the cameras, employees, and reporters, knew precisely what she meant as her palm traveled gently to her chest as if something needed to be kept together. This was no longer an ordinary oversight hearing. It was the point at which months of avoidance gave way to something more powerful. She was being asked the one question she had been avoiding for the better part of a year by a prepared guy with recorded proof who had nowhere else to turn. The final choice was made in those first 3 seconds of stillness, but it would take 20 minutes. She made a statement at a public gathering months prior that shocked Washington. She formally acknowledged on the record that she had a file on her desk that was linked to the Epstein-related files, and had details on people connected to Jeffrey Epstein's company. She said exactly that. After then there was quiet. A schedule, an explanation of the process, updates, a partial briefing, a classified summary to the Oversight Committee, and an admission that the file was still in existence were all missing. Weeks passed, then months. The question that had nowhere to go continued to grow louder in rooms like the one she was sitting in, and the Department of Justice remained silent. What matters is this. For months, these assessments are not disregarded. Not with this type of exposure, not at this level. Nothing, yet the quiet is scarcely accidental. Durbin was aware that those at the group who were familiar with those timings didn't require more explanation. Delays were nothing new to them. Bureaucracy was nothing new to them. It didn't appear to be either. There was a sense of restraint. Every day of it had been recorded by Durbin. He had a binder containing a date-by-date reconstruction when he entered the hearing chamber. Every comment, every chance lost each time Bondi or her administration discussed the Epstein-related content in public. He did not open the folder. He began with what she had said. Bondi had stated in her official statement that morning that the use of law enforcement authority for political purposes will be acknowledged as a historic violation of public trust. Durbin gave the audience time to process what he had spoken. He didn't hang it. Then he gazed straight at her without raising his voice. "If that's true," he said, "then what do you call what's been happening inside your own department for the past 8 months? Bondi clenched her jaw. Her hands had been comfortable and open on the table, but suddenly they were closed. She was ready. For every Democratic senator present, she had prepared concise, ready-to-use rebuttals. She was surprised that the prosecution's first piece of evidence was her own opening statement. The cameras captured it perfectly for a brief moment. She appeared to have recognized that she had given the wrong response and was in the wrong room. She barely made a full recovery. She appeared to be in complete control at the final minute. Then Durbin moved and the room moved with him. Durbin joined the Chicago operation without hesitation. He gave a precise description of it. A residential building, a South Shore neighborhood, Black Hawk helicopters at night, doors being forced open, families being dragged from their beds, residents being zip-tied in their homes, all without cause, elderly people, women, and people who have never been the subject of a criminal investigation. All of this has been approved. Her department provided justification for everything. It was made worse by his painstaking one-by-one documentation of every aspect. Then he mentioned the purported comment. When Durbin observed families trapped in the sweep, an agent allegedly reacted in a way he won't describe. Compared to the original words, the modified version had a harder landing. It was unlike any stillness they had ever heard, according to a senior committee staff member. In the gallery, a number of reporters immediately stopped typing. In response to an unasked inquiry, Bondi requested data, arrest figures, fentanyl seizures, task force activities, and an admitted diversion. Durbin had inquired about responsibility. In response, she mentioned how loud it was. He halted her. "That is not what I asked you." The space was transformed with a flat delivery in 6 words. Then he opened the folder and went through the chronology, date by date, statement by statement, silence by stillness. At the conclusion, he presented the data. It had been more than 200 days since she had verified the document's existence. and the Department of Justice had not spoken with the public for 200 days. There was a response to the number. "What has happened to that file?" was his blunt question. Bondi talked without responding for 40 seconds. She mentioned coordination, intricacy, and 3 use of the term suitable. She never gave a date, a status update, or any other information. The confirmation then arrived. When she stated that she would not discuss the document at an open hearing, she effectively recognized its existence without offering an explanation. The change then occurred. According to a whistleblower, agents were told to separate mentions of famous people like President Trump. Durbin presented it in a way that was cautious, unconfirmed, and severe enough to require an answer. Bondi chose not to respond. No speech could have had the same effect as that rejection. The space shifted. Real-time story filing was introduced by journalists. There was a distinct pattern. Her responses were shorter, more formal, and further away the closer the issue was to that network. Durbin said nothing. He didn't have to. Silence allowed the structure to form itself. Bondi was dismissed as Attorney General in a matter of days. Although there was no official explanation linking it to the hearing, concerns were raised behind closed doors. The document is still missing. There is still no explanation for the 200-day program. It is much more potent because of the quiet that surrounds it, because silence becomes a reaction in a speech-based system. As officials and insiders start asking the same question, what's in that file and why hasn't anybody been permitted to read it? Pressure begins to mount, first in private and then in public. Anything that is kept a secret for an extended period of time encourages conjecture, uncertainty, and mistrust. Now, the writing itself is not as bothersome as the quiet around the words, because quiet finally breaks. How and what shows up when it does is the only question left.